Let's go, guys. We got a lot of work to do today. So get our notes out. Remember what we did yesterday? We finished, or we started 3.6. Yep, the word problems. And so, thank you, Grant. I don't know why that we have such a hard time with that, but I appreciate your help over there. We started with some word problems yesterday. And we had two formulas. Yeah, put that away, let's not be tempted. We had two formulas. Right? So let's review.
Oh, welcome back. What you doing, man?
God. We started. Okay, let's review when we use which formula. Who remembers when we use which formula?
One for money and
This one is money only, right?
then for compounded continuous.
But there is one money situation where we use this. If it's compounded continuously, we use that. If it's compounded any other way, we use this one. Right? What else do we use PERT for? Compounded continuously and
Non-money
non-money. So anything that's not money, this is going to be our formula. If the problem literally says compounded continuously, this is our formula. All right, so let's see what we've got. Number 5. Find the decay constant of an element if its half-life is 10.2 years. Which formula? PERT. This is not about money, right? This is not about money. Does anybody know what half-life means? We've all taken chemistry. We've talked about half-life. What does half-life mean? Radioactive elements decompose. They lose their radioactivity over time. The amount of time that it takes for them to lose half of their stuff is called the half-life. So in other words, if the half-life of something is 1 week, if I started with 100 grams, after 1 week I would have 50. And then after another week I would have 25. And another week 12 and a half, and so on and so on. That's what half-life means. Half-life means that you're going to end up with half of whatever you started with. Now, in this problem, did they tell me how much I started with?
No.
So I'm going to make up a number. I'm just going to make up a number. I'll just say 100. I'm using PERT. I'm going to start with 100. So what am I going to end with? 50. Half-life means you end up with half of what you started with. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Miss Ford, what if I don't start with 100? Wait, you're going to see. It doesn't matter. You'll see. What's my R? Do I have an R in this problem? Did they give me a growth constant? In fact, that's what I'm looking for. Oh no. Yeah, they did. Nope, they told me time is 10.2. Would you agree with that? Okay. Now here's why what I start with doesn't matter. What's the first step to doing this problem? No, there's no distributing in this problem. The first thing I have to do is divide by 100. I've got to divide by that 100. You cannot have, we did this all day yesterday, you can't have the number out here in front. Well, what happens when I divide by 100? It equals 1/2, 0.5. Now, I want you to think about this for a second, kids. If you decided, I said start with whatever you want. So you said, okay, I'm going to start with 16. Okay, if you start with 16, then you're gonna end with 8. And your first step is divide by 16, what happens? You still get a half, right? So it doesn't matter what you start with. Just make sure that you end up with half of it. Okay? So now we're here. Who remembers what I said yesterday about equations where the variable is up here in the exponent spot? We need logarithms. And since the problem is an E problem, I'm gonna ln. I'm gonna use that kind of logarithm. I'm gonna use a natural logarithm. And the reason I like my natural logarithms is what happens right here. They cancel. So ln 0.5 equals 10.2r. So how will I get r? Divide. So ln 0.5 divided by 10.2. Don't forget to close the parentheses. I got negative 0.0680. Now, wait a minute. Yesterday, I told you that R was the growth constant. It's like the interest rate in a money problem. Why in the heck is this R negative?
Because it's decay.
Because it's decay. It's negative growth. You're not getting bigger, you're getting smaller. Now, we would never want that to happen in a money problem because that would mean we were losing money, right? But in a half-life problem, that is going to happen every time because you're always getting smaller in a half-life. All right, number 6. How long will it take for 193 trigites to grow into a colony of 391 trigites if their growth constant is 0.222? Which formula? PERT. We know it's PERT because we have not money. Right, so tell me, use all the numbers in the problem, put them in, where do they go?
193 equals 391.
What's the 193?
Starting.
So that's P. 193 is P. What's the 391? The ending. Somehow you gotta remember this is the end always. In both formulas, that's the ending amount. E to the 0.222t. What do you think?
Divide by 193.
Divide by 193. Now, you guys, it's not gonna go in. So I'm just gonna leave it as a fraction. Bear with me, please. You're going to lose points for round off error because you don't need to round off. Just leave it alone for just a minute. Now, I need to solve for t. It's an exponent. The only way to solve for an exponent is to use a logarithm. Since the problem is a PERT, an E problem, I will ln both sides. And that will make this go away. So ln this fraction equals 0.222t. So what will I type into my calculator to get my answer? ln 391 divided by 193, close parentheses, divided by 0.222. 3.1803. That's what I got. 3.1803. Anybody else get that? And that is a time, so it doesn't tell me, so I'm just gonna say years. With bacteria, it's probably more like days or hours, but I'm gonna go ahead and put years on there. Okay? What's the matter?
I
Scout?
didn't get that, but I think I put it in there correct.
Well, dollars to donuts you didn't. Because the calculator doesn't lie. Oh no, you got too many parentheses in there. Take out one of those extra parentheses. Okay. Number 7, read it, pick a formula.
That's money.
That's money, so it could be either
But
one.
it's compounded monthly, so it's the long one.
It says compounded monthly. So which one is that? Not hers.
A equals
Yep, that's the bigger one. Okay. Because compounded monthly. I draw a line under that so you remember. Compounded monthly. Okay. What goes where?
the 555 goes
555 is the P. Why?
Cause we don't know A.
Well, that's what I'm starting with, right? I'm depositing 555. I'm trying to figure out how much I end up with. What's my interest rate?
0.035.
0.035. Perfect. Remember when you put it into the formula, not a percent. It's gotta be a decimal. What's my N? 12, because I am compounded monthly, so both ends are 12. So you're gonna put a 12 in both spots. What's your T? It's also 12. So would you agree that your actual exponent is 144? 12 times 12? Now, do I need logarithms to solve this?
Nope.
Nope. This is a type it in, get the answer problem. So 555 parentheses, 1 plus 0.035 divided by 12, close parentheses, raised to 144. So in other words, just type in exactly what I wrote. Put a parentheses and a parentheses and a raised to that power. And you should have gotten $844.17. Much easier to type in when the variable is not the exponent. All right, one more. What's happening? Which formula?
Per.
How do we know it's PERT? Compounded continuously, that's your clue. No ifs, ands, or buts, that's a PERT. What goes where?
1,000's A.
1,000 is A because that's what I want to end up with.
890 is.
890 is P because that's what I am starting with.
3 R.
Time is 3 and R is, I don't know. Would everybody agree with that? Now, hopefully I'm getting you programmed. You're looking at this and you're thinking, oh gosh, I'm going to use logarithms. But never first. What has to happen first? Divide. So I'm going to divide both sides. That doesn't go in evenly, so I'm just going to leave it be for a second. Leave it alone. Don't make it a decimal, because you'll round it off and then your answer will be off. As soon as you get that number divided, then you can log both sides or ln both sides. It is easier to ln because of this right here, right? So we have ln, this fraction, equal to 3r. So how are you gonna get r?
Divide by 3.
Divide the fraction, so ln, 1,000 over 890, close the parentheses, and divide by 3? I got r equal to about 3.88%.
Yeah.
Did you get 0.0388?
Yeah.
Okay, so that percent would be 3.88%. That would be your interest rate that your bank would need to give you to make this happen. Okay? All right, that's it for those notes. Next time we meet, we're gonna have a quiz over this. Is that Friday?
Yes.
We don't have class tomorrow, so I guess it's Friday. Friday's a good day, because your P6 homework is also due on Friday?
You got another thing today.
You know, yeah, I tell you, trying to keep you guys on your toes. You're not typing anything else, I'll smack you.
Oh, man, you're way too much.
That was on video, I'll probably get arrested. Okay. Now, the quiz we take next time will have only 2 problems on it. This one has 4. I had 2 sides, so I went ahead and made extra. But the quiz will be a 2-problem quiz. My guess is, if I'm you and I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking, oh, there'll probably be 1 of each formula. That would be my guess, right? I'm gonna provide you with the formulas, but all I'm gonna do is write them down. You're gonna have to know A is what I end with, P is what I start with, and so on. All right, so here we go, number 1. How much will 18-year-old Kaya have when she is 32 years old if she deposits $500 right now in an account paying 2.4% interest compounded monthly? First decision you have to make is, what formula are you going to write down?
Not the perfect.
Not the perk, so you're gonna write down the other one. This is the formula you're gonna write down. Okay? Now what? Start plugging in numbers from the problem. So, what do we plug in?
You gotta find out how long it's gonna be, 18 for starting.
Do I know an A? Nope, don't know an A. Do I know a P?
Yeah, 500.
500. Do I know an R?
Yeah.
I mean,
0.024. Do I know an N? How many times am I compounding? 12.
T is 14.
And T is 14. I tried to get tricky and sneaky, but come on, 18 to 32, right? You have a calculator, so you can figure that out. That's 14, right? Now, I'm gonna go ahead and multiply those exponents. So 12 times 14, that's like a 168 there. Now, you gotta think about how you're gonna figure this out. Are you going to need logarithms? No. You're not going to divide by anything. Isn't your variable already by itself? This is like the perfect problem. Just type it in. Just type it in. So 500 parentheses, 1 plus 0.024 divided by 12, raised to the 168. Did you get $699.43?
Yep.
Yes.
Everybody type that in? All right, number 2. Francie has this in trigites, how many days? Okay. What formula are we using for number 2?
Per.
How do we know it's per? This is not money. any problem that isn't money, you're gonna use perk for. Alright, do I know an A?
900.
Do I know a P?
90.
Do I know an R?
0.02.
0.2468. Now that isn't a percent, that's already a decimal, right? It doesn't say 24%, it says 0.24. Do I know T?
No.
Nope, that's what I'm looking for. Step 1, divide by 90, and that one actually is gonna divide nicely. 900 divided by 90 is just 10. If you wanna leave it 900 over 90, you can. Now what? Peeps! Now we're gonna take the natural logarithm of both sides, so that that will disappear. So ln 10 equals 0.2468t. So how will we get t?
Divided by
Take
0.2468.
ln 10, close the parentheses, and divide it by 0.2468.
9.32.
How many days is it gonna take? About 9.33 days? I'm randomly rounding, I don't think, I'll have to give you some directions. Everybody okay with that one? Everybody got it? Alright, let's turn it over. Take a look at number 3. See if you can figure out the formula on your own. And then see if you can start putting numbers in to whatever formula you choose. So here are my 2 formulas. For problem number 3, don't panic, think about it for a little bit. All right, which formula did you decide you were going to use? This one? Okay. And if you're kind of stumped, it's probably because, what were you not given? You weren't given a starting value, nor were you given an ending value. But, you guys, that isn't the point of the problem. The point of the problem is whatever you start with, you have to end with 3 times it. So pick a number. 100. 100's a nice, easy number. If we start with 100, then we're going to end with 300 because it says I'm going to triple my money, right? What is the interest rate? Don't know it. How many times am I compounding? 4 quarterly. For how many years? 25. So my exponent is actually 100. What do I do first?
Divide by 100.
Divide by 100. And does it make sense to you, kids, when you do that? Then it doesn't matter what you started with, because this just ends up being 3, right, when you divide? So 3 equals 1 plus r over 4 to the 100th. Ooh, this one's a little different. Am I going to use logarithms? No. what is the only time I use logarithms?
the
When
exponent
this
the
is my
variable.
variable. Otherwise, no logarithms. Don't be doing it. It just makes it harder. But somehow I have to solve for r, which means I need to get rid of that. Any thoughts on how we would get rid of that? Oh, Scout says multiply out. No way. This would be FOILed 100 times.
I mean,
You'd be as old as me before you
I
got
mean-
done. Yeah. What, who said
square
something?
root of 100.
Square root. Now, we're not square rooting, we are hundredth rooting. Because if we hundredth root something to the hundredth, doesn't that all cancel and just leave me with this? So I think we talked about this the other day, but if we didn't, we'll talk about it again. If you want to take the hundredth root, obviously you don't have a button for that right here. But you do have a button. Press 100, whatever root it is, press that first, so press 100. And then math, where my point, my little finger is right here, math. And then option 5 is the xth root, and that's what you're doing, but you've already put 100 in. 100, and then xth root, and then 3, and you should get 1.011. Okay, so that's how you take the 100th root. Put in 100, and then math, x root number, option, and then 3, okay? Now, again, I really don't want to write that down, because I don't want to round it off. It's 1.011, okay. Now, think about now solving. Subtract the 1. So I'm just going to take what's on my calculator, and I'm just going to hit -1. Okay?
Could you multiply out the
So now I have 0.0111 equals r over 4. What do I need to do? Multiply by 4. So times 4. I got 0.0442. Which would be an interest rate of 4.42%. Right? If you need to dig a number out of this parentheses here, you're gonna have to root. Whatever power it is, that's the root you'll take to get it out. All right, last one. Which formula? Hurt. How many grams of a 48-gram sample will be left after 19 years if its decay constant is -0.1234? All right. Do I have an A?
No,
No. Do I have a P?
48.
48. Do I have an R?
Negative 1.2.
Negative 0.1234. And do I have a T? 19. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply those together. 0.1234 times 19. Negative 2.3446. That's what I got for my exponent. Wait a minute, am I gonna need logarithms? No, and in fact, since this is already by itself, that's what I'm looking for, type it in. So 48, anybody remember how we get E?
Oh, yeah.
Second ln, told you that yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, if you can't remember, you better write it down, because I'm not gonna help you with your calculator on the quiz or the test or the exam. These are on all 3. So 48 second ln negative 2.3446. I got 4.60 grams. How much is left? 4.60 grams.
Sure. So you type in what, 48, that's the subject, and right here is the E text,
All right, what happens on Friday?
Quiz over
How many
3
problems on
seconds.
the quiz?
2.
Two. I'm gonna give you the formulas, chances are you're gonna have to do one of each, right?
Yep.
So you need to know what all the letters stand for, and you need to be able to type it in on your calculator. So, we're gonna log both sides, or ln both sides, anytime our x is up here. Otherwise, we're not doing anything with logarithms. We're either just straight up typing it in, or sometimes we have to do this weird fancy stuff. You may need to take a root on your calculator. That's the quiz, 2 problems. It'll be half a sheet, it'll look just like the front of this does. Okay? And then homework 3-6, which is, I can't remember, like 3 or 4 problems is all. Just like this, we get to practice that. Okay? The answers, by the way, to homework are always right here. You can come in and look at that to check your own work to make sure you're on track. Okay? All right, let's get out our practice test. Gave you that a long time ago. I have no idea. But it looks like I have lost mine or someone took it. I'm sure I kept it for myself. If I remember over that yet. Sure, you lay it down in the dumps. All right, so here we go. We're practicing for our test. We are practicing for our test. So here we go. Yeah, I got a bunch of people that haven't taken the quiz yet, so I'm not gonna turn them back, but I'll turn them back on Friday. And we'll go over those 2 quizzes that we just took yesterday. Okay. Number 1, practice test 1, problem 1. Consider this. Is this a growth or decay problem? Growth. Growth. Because that number right there is bigger than 1. How much bigger than 1? 0.02, which is 2% growth. 2% growth, 2% bigger than 1. What is the initial value? 3. Okay? Problem number 1 done. How easy is that? All right, number 2. This looks just like the quiz we took yesterday. Write the equation of the exponential function given these 2 points. Well, what does our equation look like?
Y equals AB.
Y equals A times b to the x. Tell me what you know, or what are we gonna do?
Plug
We
in the
know
first
A
one.
is 2, because the 0 point that we call this the y-intercept always gives us the initial value. So A is 2. Okay? How am I going to find B?
Plug in the second point.
Take the other point, which is an x and a y, and plug it in. So, 18 equals 2b to the second. Now what? Divide by 2. So 9 equals b squared.
3.
Square root. So b equals 3. And equation. Y equals 2 times 3 to the x. Are you gonna make that 6 to the x? Never! These are two separate numbers. Look, it's an A and a B. We leave them as two separate numbers. 2 times 3 to the n's. Now, I hope you wrote down enough that when you look back at this, you'll understand what you did. Many of you messed that up on the quiz. It's gonna be on the test. Let's get it right. All right. Oh my. Now we have a whole slew of exponent problems. Okay, what do you think about number 3A, Alex?
1/64.
Well, exactly, it's gonna be 1/8 squared, and 8 squared is 64. How did Alex know it was 1/?
Negative.
Because it's a negative exponent. You guys, I don't know how else to say it. A negative exponent means 1/. So when you see a negative exponent, it's gonna be 1/. Right? Uh-oh, except in B. B is a negative exponent, but it's already 1/, which means it goes the other way, and it will be 4/1 cubed. Now, I wish I had $1 for every one of you that answered that question on the quiz with a 12. What does 4 to the 3rd power mean? It
64.
does not mean 4 times 3. What does it mean?
64.
4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. So the answer is 64. Now for C, we'll see who's paying attention. Look at that problem carefully. There's something going on there. What's the answer? 5. What happens when an ln and an e touch each other?
Oh, cancel.
Duh, they're gone, right? So an ln and an e are touching each other, so the answer is 5. 5. D. Most of you like to loop-de-loop. In order to loop-de-loop this problem, you have to set it equal to x. Which makes sense, because aren't we trying to figure out what this equals? Now, if you do that, then you can see the loop-de-loop. What's the loop-de-loop say?
4 squared.
4, well, 4 to the x equals 16. But we know that would have to be 4 squared, so x equals 2. Does that make sense to everybody? So remember, you can always set your problem equal to x. If it's not an equation, you can make it equal to x if that helps you simplify it.
But in our answer, do we have to write x equals if we didn't make it a
No,
two?
just make it 2. All right, E, another negative exponent. So start by dealing with the negatives. So 1/27 to the 2/3.
Square root. Or
A
not radical.
fractional exponent means a radical. So 1/, here's my radical,
27. Or
Grant?
3. 27.
Now you do very well in this class. Not everybody else does. So your job is to help other people achieve,
Yeah.
okay? Not to distract them.
Yeah.
All right, so 27 what root is this? This is gonna be the cube root, squared? What's the cube root of 27? 3. So it's 1 over 3 squared, which is 1 over 9. Everybody got it? Hang with me, we're gonna do a few more here. All right, letter F. Okay, this is a lot. Now, there's lots of ways to start this problem. For me, in my experience, which is vast, because I'm old, the easiest way to approach this problem is to kind of clean anything up here that we can. So I can't do anything with the 2 and the 3. But what happens when I have 3 x's on top of 4 x's? I'm gonna have 1 left over on the bottom. Because x's on top of x's cancel each other. But there's 1 extra one on the bottom. Now what about this guy? He's negative. What happens with a negative? He comes down. Well, wait a minute. There's 1 y already in the denominator.
Negative.
I'm bringing down 4 more. So what am I gonna have? 5 y's on the bottom. So one y is already down here. 4 more are coming down. That's a total of 5 now. And that is what I'm gonna square. And when I square it, that means I square everything. So 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. X squared is x squared. And then be careful here. This isn't going to be y to the 25th. Y to the 10th. We multiply those exponents. We never square an exponent. That just doesn't happen. We multiply them together. Now, if you sit down and do this problem by yourself, wishful thinking on my part, but if you choose to practice on your own, as long as you end up with this answer, the steps might look different, and that's okay. But that is the answer you need to end up with. All right. Oh, G. If you miss G, you need to be smacked.
Yep.
G is
9.
9. 9. It's a property. We've talked about it. 9. H. Now H, we can set it equal to X, but there's still something missing. The 10 is missing. LOG means base 10. LN means base E. We're not getting, some of you are getting that mixed up. I figured it out. LOG is base 10. So now you can looky-loo if you wish. 10 to the X equals 1,000. So this means how many 10s times each other does it take to get to 1,000? Well, 10 times 10 would be 100, times another 10 would be 1,000, so X equals 3, or the answer is 3. Two-thirds to the negative third.
Flip it in.
First, we'll flip it.
3 over 2.
So 3 over 2, and then we still have to cube it, so that would be
27 over 8.
27 over 8, that's exactly right. We cube both pieces, 27 over 8. I'm all for mental math, so if you can do that, that's awesome. But if you can't, write it down. 3 times 3 times 3. Multiply it out, and you're gonna get 27. What about Jen? 5. 5. Boys and girls, what's touching? N-E, N-N, L-N. Aren't they right? I mean, they're right there next to each other. Gone. The answer is 5. This test is going to be in 2 parts. You're going to start with some white pages, and those are no calculator. So everything we've done so far, we haven't needed a calculator for. Now we're going to do a few more. And when you're done with this white part, white paper, you'll turn it in, and I'll give you a colored paper, like pink or blue or something. And then you'll get your calculator out and do that. All right? So try to put the calculator aside. We're gonna do a few more, and then I'll stop. Okay? I know you're getting tired. Let's do a few more here, and then I will stop. All right, number 4. Solve this equation, 4a. I know you know how to do this problem. It's your favorite thing in the whole wide world. Loop-de-loop, right? So what does it say when I loop-de-loop?
3 squared equals x minus 2.
3 to the second equals x minus 2. When we loop-de-loop, we start right here. This is where we start, right there, that base. So what's 3 squared? So what's x? Add 2. It would be 11, wouldn't it? All right, we're gonna finish this column and then we'll be done for the day. B, 3 times 2 to the x equals 24. Divide by 3. It's what we do in our word problems, right? We don't want to have this extra number hanging around. So we're going to divide by 3. So 2 to the x equals 8. No, we don't divide by 2. 2 to what power gives me 3? Oh, gives me 8. 2 to what power gives me 8? 3. So x is 3. If the problem were 2x equals 8, then I would divide by 2. This is not that. This says how many 2's does it take to make an 8? Well, it takes 3. Right? 3 ln x equals 1. Now, I don't have a calculator. I'll keep that in mind. 3 ln x equals 1. What do you think is the first thing we should do?
Divide by 3.
Divide by 3. We don't want any number ever hanging around in front. Get rid of it. So ln x equals 1/3. What does ln stand for? Log base e. So there's an e right here. Can I loop-de-loop? So e to the 1/3 equals x. Now I am perfectly okay with that answer, but if you wanted to write that as the cube root of e, isn't a fractional exponent a root? So if you wanted to go ahead and do that, you could, but I'm okay with e to the 1/3. Last one today. What's step 1?
Divide by 36.
You gotta divide. Oh my gosh, if you haven't learned anything else, you know you cannot have that 36 hanging around, so we're gonna divide. So 1/2 to the x minus 1 equals what? What's 9 over 36? 1/4. Oh, what's so nice about 1/4? What's 4? 4 is 2 squared. Isn't 1/4 1/2 squared? And why is that so special? because they can cancel, or, you know, they're gone. Set the exponents equal, so x minus 1 equals 2, and x equals 3. Common base. Alright, I'll stop there. You know what you need to do. We'll finish this next time. Don't worry about